AM 1460, the new WXBR. You are listening to the Metro South Morning Show, PM in the AM. Peter Zimborn and Mike Pava here with you on this Monday morning. And as will be the case all week long, we'll be chatting with several candidates for Councilor-At-Large in Brockton. And right now, we have an incumbent in studio who is seeking re-election. I said incumbent very oddly that time, so I'm going to say it again for my own satisfaction. Seeking re-election is Robert Sullivan, and he joins us in studio right now. Bob, good to have you here.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, Peter and Mike. Thanks for having me on.
Do you like Bob or Robert?
You can call me Bob.
The signs say Robert Sullivan, but you introduce yourself as Bob, so I didn't know what to go. That's why I wanted to set up the interview with that.
As long as the voters understand that it's going to say Robert on the ballot, you can call me anything you want. You can call me Sully if you want. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Does anyone call you Sully?
A lot of people do call me that, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're here with Robert Sullivan. We'll go with that since that is the name on the ballot. Why are you seeking re-election for the Councilor-At-Large seat? What makes you want to go forward with this?
Yeah, it's been an honor and a privilege. I've been serving actually since 2006. I got sworn in January of 2006, and it's gone by awful quick. This is my fourth term. Of course, it's a 2-year term, and it's been an honor and a privilege. I mean, I grew up here in the city of Brockton. I married Maria Louise, who's a Brocktonian. We're raising 3 kids here, a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And I think it's a city that I hold near and dear to my heart. My mom and dad are still living here in Ward 2, and my in-laws are living down in Ward 4. And it's a special place, and I feel that I've done a lot of good things over the last 8 years, and I believe that I have more to give to the city of Brockton, some more creative ideas. And quite honestly, this election coming up, of course, my 2 colleagues, Tom Brophy and Todd Petty, are not seeking re-election. So there's been some great dialogue, some great candidates in the mix. And I think actually, if we look at what the Patriots actually did recently, it's a good mixture of having some veterans and some rookies, and that's a successful team. So I'm asking the voters to honor me again and give me a vote of confidence on November 5th. I was very fortunate, Peter and Mike, to do very well in September, and I really just want to thank all voters, all registered voters that go to the polls and cast a ballot, a vote in my direction. I truly appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
One difference between seeking re-election as opposed to seeking election for the first time is not only do you have to present ideas moving forward, but you have to defend certain positions you've had in the past, and that's not something you'd have to do running for election the first time. You've done both. Describe how you feel going into this general election in November.
Yeah, I feel very good. I always run a positive campaign. I have just some great core supporters. We've been campaigning since May, believe it or not. It was a long, hot summer. We've been campaigning, and we're going to continue to campaign until 8:01 p.m. on November 5th, which is coming up in 3 weeks. But, I agree with you. But I stand on my record because I spend a lot of time before I cast a vote. I do my homework. I do my due diligence. I have a business background with an MBA from Boston College, so I do analyze the budget and the financial aspects, and I also have a law degree. So, I have crafted laws and ordinances in the city of Brockton. Actually, one of them, Mike and Peter, is pending right now in the ordinance committee. It's going to benefit the senior citizens here in the city of Brockton, and also the veterans. It's going to be a volunteer program where each a specific group can volunteer a certain amount of time, and as a result of volunteering time, they're going to get a price reduction on their real estate taxes. So I think, during tough economic times, I've said it before, it's not a cliche. You have to think outside the box. You have to be creative. I don't know if you guys have followed the streetlight acquisition, but I was banging the drum for 2 years for the city of Brockton to actually acquire the streetlights. We were paying a hefty sum every month. It was rent to National Grid to have the streetlights in the city of Brockton. There's over 5,000 of them. For $30,000, we were able to acquire and purchase the streetlights. Now think of that. 30 grand's a lot of money, but when you talk about a budget of $360 million, it's really not. As a result of the $30,000 investment to purchase it, we've saved this year alone $650,000. It's going to be a reoccurring savings, so next year we're going to save money in the following year. And then if we even enhance it and do the LED lights, which are 10 years of life, I think the expectations are, in addition, it'd be about another $125,000 to $145,000 savings. So, I welcome anybody that puts their name in the ring, as they say, to run for office. But I stand on my record, and I hope to serve another 2 years and be re-elected on November 5th.
What do you think are the significant issues facing the city of Brockton during this upcoming election? How do you stand on those issues?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is the economy, and it's not unique to the city of Brockton. It's Commonwealth-wide. It's actually nationally, and it's a trickle-down effect. So, recently we've had a kind of a wave of violence. And in order to hire police personnel and safety personnel, you need the funds, you need the money. So I think the economy is number one to combat anything, and that's to better our schools, public safety endeavors, quality of life issues, street and road repairs. So I think money's going to be the number one thing, and it's not going to get better. I mean, if people think it will, it's a naive concept, because it's going to take some time. The feds have to straighten it out, and then Beacon Hill has to straighten out, and then the localities. But I've said it, and I'm going to continue to say it, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but Brockton is not getting its fair share of funds coming out of the State House, coming out of Beacon Hill. We're not. We're getting shortchanged on our Chapter 70 funds, which are for the schools, and our Chapter 90 funds for the city, and we're not getting our fair share of the lottery funds. I mean, people spend a lot of money here in Brockton on lottery, and we're just not getting the fair deal. And I hope that eventually over time the delegation is going to be able to rattle the cage up there, and we will get some funds and we'll be able to deal with some benefits for Brockton.
Another thing about being an incumbent seeking re-election is that there have been some issues which sort of some folks will say, we need to do this, we need to do that, and you ask them how to pay for it, they might not know. You've seen the city budget. Where do you see the city as a whole in that regard? Yeah,
I think the idea that Brockton and our taxes, with the Proposition 2.5, I would not favor an override, and I don't believe the voters here in the city of Brockton would favor an override. So we are capped at 2.5%, which, if you really crunch the numbers, imagine if there wasn't a cap at 2.5%, what it would be. I mean, it would be astronomical. But I get it. I mean, I'm a husband and a father. I'm a concerned Brocktonian. I pay my taxes. I'm a homeowner, and people are just trying to get by. And I think we have to really be cognizant of that fact. But with that being said, we have to run a city, and it's expensive to run with the core services. So, we have to make cuts. I think we have to have some fiscal responsibility, some cost containments. Something that I've said recently, the city of Quincy does this, and I actually, quite honestly, I want to steal the idea. And if I am reelected, I'm going to be at the forefront. The city of Quincy doesn't just have their own attorney for the city council over there. They also have their own accountant. And I think it makes sense, because what happens is when the budget comes forward, it's presented by the mayor. She is the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of the city of Brockton, in conjunction with the CFO, Mr. Condon. And you can make cuts here and there, and ultimately, if you don't make those cuts, I mean, ultimately there has to be layoffs. So it's kind of a balancing act. But I think that we have some quality people running for office right now, and I think that we're going to have a concerted effort to work in unison. And again, it's a nonpartisan election, so Democrats, Republicans, unenrolled independents, they can get out to the polls and vote for who they feel is the best public servant. And that's what I say. Yeah, I'm a Councilor-At-Large. That's the title. I'm not a politician. I serve the public, and when I knock on your door and I ask for your vote, that's what I'm doing. I want to represent you at City Hall, and, I've been fortunate to have done that for the last 8 years, and I think that my record stands for itself, and I hope to continue to do that for the next 2 years.
You're opposed to the proposed Brockton power plant. What can be done in Brockton to pursue a more greener Brockton?
Yeah, so first of all, the power plant in my idea, and I've been opposed to it, and I've testified at the State House on 3 occasions. I actually set up a meeting a few years back when Tim Murray was Lieutenant Governor, and I've drafted a letter to Governor Patrick. That's what's coming out of nationally and from the State House, green technology, harness the sun, harness the wind. In my own humble opinion, and the vast majority of the opinion of the people that I serve, and again, it's all 7 wards, all 28 precincts, that's a dinosaur. It's an archaic technology. It's not going to be beneficial to Brockton in the sense that it's not going to cut our electrical bills. It's going to go into the grid. It's too close to schools and elderly high-rises, and it's just not the right place. It's not the right technology. We are very fortunate here in the city of Brockton. Think of it back in time. We had Thomas Edison here, right? So we're at the forefront, Brockton, historically, on some of the endeavors in terms of electricity. We also have, of course, the Brightfield on the south side of the city. So I think, we need to look more at wind technology. I've talked to several people that believe that, Brockton has the space, especially in our industrial zone, to do that. So I'm going to continue, win or lose, November 5th, to be opposed to the power plant. And, we have to fight the good fight because, as I've said before, and I believe this wholeheartedly, there's no price tag on health and safety. So it's a short-sighted thought that it's going to be a windfall of jobs or a windfall of money. I don't believe that's accurate. I believe it's fuzzy math. But I do think that we do have the ability to really expand our tax base by bringing businesses here, number one, and also maintaining the businesses that we have here. I'm sure you guys remember Sorelli Foods that used to be on West Chestnut Street. When we lost Sorelli Foods down to Middleborough, I mean, that was a terrible thing. Now, fortunately, their space didn't sit idle too long. We have the car dealership up there, but without having the right people serving at City Hall, we're not going to be able to do that. We're a gateway city recognized by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so we need to be able to really capitalize on that. And something, gentlemen, that I did, and I'm sure, again, you followed it, is Chapter 40R under Mass General Law, which is called smart growth. Smart growth zoning is something that I brought forward to the City Council when Mayor Harrington was around. I learned about it when I sat for 2 years on the planning board here in the city of Brockton. And what smart growth zoning is, it allows for a catalyst for investment. Right now, the economy's in the tank, but it has to come back, right? People have to live somewhere. They have to work somewhere. And what we did, and again, I was banging the drum for a while, but we have smart growth zoning adopted here in the city of Brockton, and we see it already working for fruition. Capstone Projects, Capstone LLC, the guy's name is Jason Korb. He purchased the old Stalin Bean, the Georgie Knight building over on Montello Street, and that's already being redeveloped. There's a $30 million investment coming down to Legion Parkway, the Enterprise block, and that's Trinity Financial. So, I think, Mike, you need to, again, be creative. You need to be cognizant of the fact that people are trying to get by, but ultimately, you need to work in the best effort of people that care about Brockton, that work here and live here, and that's what I've done, and I stand on my record for that.
Another hot issue in the city of Brockton, we're talking about cost-cutting measures earlier and saving the city money, is the city's deal with the Aquaria desal plant. Currently, the city is spending $6+ million per year to the Aquaria desal plant without seeing any financial return for that investment or without getting a drop of water from the desal plant. There seems to be some debate among city politicians as to whether or not the contract the city has with this plant can or cannot be broken if it is, quote, ironclad. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know that the city solicitor's office has they've given a legal opinion, and Mayor Belzotti also got an outside legal counsel, a former mayor on the North Shore, Lisa Mead. She's an attorney by trade. She also believes that it's ironclad, for lack of a better word. But I filed a resolution, a resolve, back in May, and I invited, because we can't force, we don't have subpoena powers, but I invited the representatives from Aquaria to come before the city council when we sit as finance committee, and when we all 11 of us sit as finance committee, we can question. And they, to their credit, came in May. But my resolution, my resolve was pinpointed to the contract. In the terms of the contract, it specifically outlined that say they need to market it. And I wanted proof. How are they marketing? Who are they marketing to? Are they going to trade shows like the MMA, the Mass Municipal Association? The two gentlemen that came before us, they didn't have the answers, which I thought was very disappointing. I was very dismayed. My colleagues were dismayed. We continued it to give them time to be able to kind of get the details that we want. They're coming forward again on the 21st of this month, and I hope that they're going to adhere to the request that I made, because I'm as I said, I'm a lawyer, and I understand the ideas of contracts, but I also understand a breach of contracts, or potential breach of contracts, or modification of contracts. So, I'm not saying it's an ironclad deal. I wasn't on the city council when the deal came to fruition, but I think we need to analyze it, because we're spending a heck of a lot of money right now for something that we're not using.
Do you think there's a potential that you guys can prove that there is a breach of contract in place and remove yourselves from the deal of spending $6 million a year?
Yeah, we're a legislative body, the city council, so we couldn't force them. We could not mandate that it is a breach. What we would do is, I think we collect the evidence or the information that's provided, and then we forward it to our in-house legal counsel, which again is Phil Nezarel as the city solicitor, and Attorney Mark Gilday is the counsel to the city council. So I'm hopeful. I think that if they have adhered to the contract, it shouldn't be difficult for them to prove it to us. And again, they came forward in May and they didn't have any information. So I was a little disappointed, because I go to the MMA every year, and the Mass Municipal Association is a huge trade show held in Boston at the Heinz, and there's all different municipal suppliers there. These people didn't even know what the MMA was, so that's a little disappointing, a little confusing. But again, we'll find out some more when they come forward on the 21st, which is a week from Monday.
Let's talk about public safety here in the city of Brockton. We have record numbers right now for homicides in the city, and what can be done besides just hiring new police officers? What can be done to curb violence in the city?
Yeah, growing up in Brockton, Brockton's a city, number one, right? And it doesn't matter if you live in a city or a town, there's always going to be violence, and unfortunately, always. That's throughout history. I think, first of all, we're very fortunate, because Brockton is the only city in Plymouth County, and we have the district attorney's office here in the city of Brockton. It doesn't need to be. It could be anywhere in Plymouth County, but we have it here. We also have a good police chief in Manny Gomes, and there's a good working relationship with the feds. We got ATF here. We have the FBI here. and also, of course, the state police, the staties are working. But I also think it comes down to educating the youth. I mean, growing up in Brockton, very rarely did you hear of gun violence. Fights, yeah, physical altercations you'd hear of, but you didn't. At least I didn't growing up in the 70s and 80s. So I think we need to be able to educate the youth more. And again, it goes back to the State House. Some of the programs that Brockton benefited, the DARE program was a great educational tool in our junior highs. That got cut out. That got wiped out. So, I think we need to have more conversation, more dialogue. The city does have, under the last census, it's a minority-majority type of municipality. So I think we need to be able to offer education also in many different languages. And we need to make sure that the youth aren't afraid of the police, that there's a relationship there. But also you can even peel back the layer one bit more and say, we have some great neighborhood crime watch programs, and we need to expand that as well. We recently had a house built right next door to me, and the developer was telling me under the cover of darkness, someone stole all the plantings. But, my neighbor saw it and made a call. They didn't catch the person, but that's what it takes. You just need to do that extra edge. So, we need to, I think, work together as a whole. And it doesn't matter, male, female, white, black. It doesn't matter. We're all Brocktonians. So we need to work together. We need to make sure that we're bettering Brockton, for ourselves and our families. That's what it's about.
In recent months, there's been some demonstrations at City Hall by people who oppose vehemently property tax increases in the city of Brockton. Your thoughts on those demonstrations and what they're protesting?
Yeah, you know what? I applaud those people because they're passionate, and the art of democracy is the art to be able to speak, and that's what America's about, the freedom of speech. I mean, that's what the founders and the framers wanted us to do. So when those people come for us, and I know them all personally, and I applaud them. We can agree to disagree, just like I agree to disagree with one of my colleagues that thinks the power plant is a good thing for the city of Brockton. But I think you also have to understand that people are hurting right now, and financially people are losing their jobs, they're losing their homes, and I get calls from people during the week that say, how am I going to afford my mortgage? I have to buy medicine, I have to buy baby formula. I mean, this is reality. So I'm actually proud to be a public servant in the city of Brockton, and I like to have dialogue with those people. And actually, some of those people that are on this tax committee or group or whatever you want to say, they're running for office as well. So we've had some great conversations. It's not personal in any way, and we agree to disagree. But I also think you need to look at the numbers, and you need to really do a cost analysis. And I hear what they're saying, and I agree with them to some extent on some things. And I do think if I'm reelected, I'm going to be working with some new colleagues on the council. Maybe we could be creative in other initiatives and endeavors. But I don't fault anybody for being passionate about what they feel about. That's reality, and that's democracy at its foremost.
Seeking re-election for Councilor-At-Large in November. You've served a few terms as Councilor-At-Large. Any future ambitions to be something more than a Councilor-At-Large within the city or even beyond, politically?
Well, I very much wholeheartedly care for the city of Brockton. I love this place, and as do my my wife and my family. And I would never say no. I mean, right now I'm a candidate for re-election with Councilor-At-Large, and I hope to be successful, and we're working diligently on that. You don't take anything for granted. Guys, I've run for state representative in the past, and one of them I lost by 13 votes. And I think if you look back and I look at some of the people that maybe didn't vote that day, maybe it would have been different. But you turn the page, and I'm proud to be a Councilor-At-Large. I love Brockton, and I would never say never. And we'll have to see right now. But I know that if I'm fortunate enough to be reelected, I'm going to work my tail off for the next 2 years, and then we'll see what happens down the line.
You mentioned your parents earlier. Let's say hello to your mom for us. She briefly appeared in our show one time. Did you know that?
I did not know that. But it's my mom and dad they're great, and my dad's a retired Brockton High teacher. He was up there since it opened in 1970, and he got out in 2002. My mom's, of course, a retired registered nurse. She used to work for Dr. Alan Blotsky. And my in-laws, I'll give a shout-out to them, Anthony and Lorraine Louisi. Lorraine, of course, worked at Kennedy School forever, and Anthony was the assistant superintendent, and he's done a lot over at Trinity Catholic as well. So, we have core roots here, and my wife, Maria, who's the love of my life, she's been a physician assistant, a PA in the ER over in Brockton for many, many years. And, we're not going anywhere, and if I look back at some of my colleagues that graduated from Brockton High in '88, and believe it or not, 25-year anniversary reunions coming up quick. But, a lot of those people did not come back to Brockton after college. They left, and, they thought it was the best thing for them. But we did, and we're here. And, I'm proud to say that I serve on the council as a Councilor-At-Large, and I hope to do that. And, again, I'm asking all voters to please get out there and vote. We didn't have a great turnout in September. We had great weather, so you can't blame that. But, a little under 20%. And I'd really like to see 30, 40, 50%. I don't know if it's reality now, but, we have some great people that want to serve, and I hope that the voters get out there and do the vote.
Any final words for our listeners before we let you go this morning?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I'm going to ask you humbly for your vote on Tuesday, November 5th. And I think proven experience and proven leadership really matters, specifically during tough economic times. And, look at my track record. I don't just do things to do things. I do them after doing a lot of homework on it. And I do it for the right reasons. I grew up in a family that, what we always believed on was doing the right thing. Your reputation, your family are the two most important things in life. And I've always done that. And, I have over 490 signs out in the city of Brockton. They say signs don't vote, and I agree with that. But that's 490 different households of people that support me because of my experience and my leadership. And, I'm just asking again on November 5th, please get out there and vote. I know, and I want to thank Peter and Mike, both of you. I know you've been public servants in a different endeavor by really stressing, the art of communication. It's extremely important. So if anybody has any questions, criticisms, or interest in helping me out, my cell phone is 508-846-1208, 846-1208, and my website is www.electrobertsullivan.com. And I'm asking again for your vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Polls open at 7 a.m. and they close at 8 p.m. Again, Robert Sullivan for Councilor-At-Large.
That's a surefire way to get your voicemail clogged up. Take it from experience, giving it out on the air. That's Robert Sullivan, Council-at-Large candidate here on AM 1460, the new WXPR, seeking re-election on November the 5th. You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show, PM in the AM. Peter Zimbor and Mike Pava here with you this morning. We'll step aside for a quick break. Mike Pava brings you a local news update.